Yep. Is it filming? Okay. Hello students, I'm Mr. Campo and Mr. C's woodworking class, and this is the table saw demonstration. You can move closer if you want, if you need to. This is a table saw or a cabinet saw, and what we will use this for is cutting pretty much all of our material. This is the last machine that I need to show you as far as milling lumber to squaring a board. But I want to explain a significant amount of things that have to do with this table saw. We will be using or demonstrating on this table saw and that table saw right there, because this machine is just dedicated with a dado head in it. What I'm going to do first is, as you know, is I'm going to lock the power out in the power box before I make any adjustments. On this machine right here, if you come on up, I'm going to show you. This is your throat plate. This is called a dado stack.
It blacked out.
It's okay. It will do that.
Really?
This is called a dado stack. And inside of here, if you can go,
Yeah, I can't see where I'm focusing.
okay. If you bring it up, it'll show up. This is a dado head stack, and inside of here, you'll see a cartridge inside of here, and I'm going to show you what that looks like in 1 second. And if you look over from here, you'll see that this is set to a certain distance from the blade to the cartridge to allow for the machine to recognize when it's running and for the blade to run properly without engaging the cartridge, and I'll explain that in 1 second to you. This is kind of a unique table saw. I'm going to put the throat plate back in here. As you notice, it sits flat to the surface, the same plane as the tabletop bed. This is a miter gauge. This is a fence with an auxiliary fence, so we don't cut into our existing fence. Okay? Now, what I'd like to show you is the cartridge that goes inside. This happens to be a saw stop. I think that this is the best way to go in a high school setting or in a setting where someone's just learning how to use this piece of equipment, because it does have a lot of built-in features that will prevent you from getting hurt very, very, very badly. But I want to talk real quickly about this. This is the brake cartridge for this machine. And what will happen is this machine will actually, let me grab one of these. This machine has the blade running inside. And the blade is running inside, and I'm going to use my finger as the arbor to hold it. The blade is running, I'm sorry, let me turn this the proper way. The blade is running in this direction like this. And this cartridge is detecting whether or not your finger or your hand comes in contact with the blade. If your hand does come in contact with the blade, what will happen is it'll trigger this cartridge. It'll take the cartridge, and there's a spring built up inside of here that will release and slam into the blade, and then the arbor, which is what my finger is doing, it'll drop down below this surface. And this happens at a very, very fast rate, and this will prevent you from cutting off your fingers. So it's a great safety feature. I think that whoever designed this was really onto something. I wish we had machines like this for every area in the shop. That if we had a saw stop for every type of piece of equipment, that'd be incredible. But at this time, we don't have that. But we do have the technology as far as in the cabinet saw, the table saw, for us to make sure we're as safe as we possibly can. I'll get to the different table saw blades in a minute here, okay? But I want to explain a few things to you before we go any further. All right? This is your table saw top, and then this is your extension table over here. This is a fence for the table saw, and this is a miter gauge, okay? A miter gauge is used for cross-cutting in the saw. A fence is used for ripping. Please do not try cross-cutting using a fence, okay? And don't try ripping using a miter gauge. And I'll explain to you what a rip cut is and a cross cut is in a few moments. on the other table saw that's set up for that type of cut, all right? Now, inside of here, this is set up with a stacked dado blade. And this is one type of blade, and later in the course, I'll be explaining to you what a dado cut is, all right? And that's to go ahead and make different types of woodworking joints, rabbets, and dados for you to build cabinets. And we'll get into that later as far as construction of cabinetry and furniture making, okay? But what I'd like to talk to you about is the different types of table saw blades that we have inside the shop. This blade right here happens to be what's called a ripping blade. As you can see, it has very large gullets. Gullets are the spaces between the teeth, okay? Now this particular blade is 30 teeth, and it's a 10-inch diameter blade. These two table saws were set up for a 10-inch blade. This has the large gullets to allow for when you're ripping a piece of material. I'm gonna grab a piece of material and bring it back here. Ripping a piece of material is cutting along the grain, okay? And if you look at this board, you can see that the grain is running up and down here, and to rip it would be like cutting this way, okay? This is a rip blade, all right? Very large gullets, few teeth, all right? Now, this blade, and this has just been sharpened, that's why some of this plastic is on here, or this rubber coating. This is another 10-inch blade, and this has 60 teeth to it. Cross-cutting blades have anywhere from 60 to 80 teeth typically for a table saw on a 10-inch blade. And this blade is designed to cut across the surface. Okay, so cutting a board to length. Okay, so if I want to cut across here and here, I would want to use a cross-cutting blade. All right, and again, this is a 10-inch blade, same size, arbor size, 5/8. All right. Now here is where an interesting blade is. I'm going to pull some of this off. Whenever we get our table saw blades sharpened, they protect the teeth like this when you go to pick them up. But this blade right here is called a combination blade. And as you can see, it's a combination of the first two blades I showed you. It has 5 teeth here with a small gullet between, and it has a very large gullet, and it repeats itself over and over again throughout this blade. Okay? Well, this blade can be used for cross-cutting and ripping. Okay? So this will work for that. All right? Now, there happens to be another type of blade. This is what we will be using in the shop 90% of the time. This is a Forest Woodworker 2, and this blade, even though it's 40 teeth, this blade is 40 teeth, and it has pretty much a medium-sized gullet in every one of them. This blade was designed to go ahead and cross-cut and rip. You can do both with this blade, even though it doesn't look like the other combination blade. And we find here in our shop that we get a superior cut with this blade. I'm not saying this specific company is the only company that does this, but this is just the company and the blade that we use in here because we find that it lasts the blade